See, Indian arts, whether it is dance or music, the one thing that really stands out is spirituality. Every art form in India is meditative. Even a painter, even a sculptor, everything is meditative. So as the generations move, we are trying to hold on to our tradition, modernize it to an extent. In every South Indian household, we are exposed to art and culture from a very young age. Today, who you call legends were all great performers at that time. Brings this big fat book on Nataraja and gets it to me and says, Usha, you want to be in this field, you better read this. I was sent to Moscow. As a country, Russia, highly appreciative of our country. In Russia, in every city of theirs, when they celebrate their city, we added yoga as a part of their celebration, which was a big thing. Newer generations feel that it's a very slow thing and अभी ये आलाप शुरू करेगा, यार कौन सुनेगा ये गाना, कितने सारे हाथ कर रहे हैं. What does it mean? Guru is Guru. You have to touch Guru's feet or you have to do namaskar that you had to do. We still follow our traditional methodology. So from 3-hour shows, we have come now today to an hour and a half. One reason is that people don't stay till the end of the program.
तो क्या हाल है दोस्तों, मेंटालिटी के एक और फ्रेश एपिसोड में आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है। मैं हूं आपका होस्ट यश ठाकुर। आज के गेस्ट बहुत ही स्पेशल है, मिस उषा आरके, जो जवाहरलाल नेहरू कल्चरल सेंटर की डायरेक्टर मॉस्को में रह चुकी हैं। उनका बहुत ज्यादा योगदान है योगा कुंभ मेले को प्रमोट करने में, इंडियन आर्ट्स और क्लासिकल डांस को प्रमोट करने में वर्ल्ड वाइड। सो आज हम उनके साथ पॉडकास्ट कर रहे हैं, बहुत सारी चीजें सीखने के लिए। सो आई होप यू स्टिक टू द एंटायर एपिसोड। वेरी गुड इवनिंग मैम, थैंक यू सो मच for taking out time from your busy schedule and coming on the podcast. How did your journey begin in the classical art forms and the performances? Where did it actually start from?
In every South Indian household, and I being a South Indian for that matter, we are exposed to art and culture from a very young age.
That's right.
Dance music also started very early in my life, almost. Maybe I was 3-4 years old.
Oh, that rough.
Yeah, because everybody in the house is doing everything, So my older sisters was already learning dance when I was born.
Right.
So when I was 3-4 years old, she was about 8. We, I would go with her to see the dance class, sit there, watch everything. So automatically, we also start doing what is going on in the family. And then I had an aptitude for all this. So my grandmother said, let her go, let her be there in the class, Karte, you develop an interest for that also. So that's how I started. But I think it was mostly after I finished my 10th. And while I was 7th, 8th, तभी मुझे पता चला कि I don't want to take science. Though I was good in mathematics. And my father was very keen that I should do chartered accountancy. But I sort of felt that no, I would like to do something related to art.
Right.
And so after my pre-university, I shifted from commerce to arts. And then I took English literature as my main subject and I started working there. But I also continued my dance and learning of dance and understanding it more, figuring out a lot of in-depth things of dance, subject के अंदर जाके देखना. Because performance तो हमारे families में उतना नहीं allow करते थे. छोटे-छोटे यानी school, college में they would allow, but not as a professional, they didn't want me to take it. So I decided that I do research and understand the art form more because I can't perform, so I might as well do that. But it's not that I didn't perform. I would also perform once in a way here and there. But it was not like I would not do anything else.
Guys, एक important message है. Majority of our viewers are not subscribing to the channel. So please make sure that you do subscribe to the mentality. While growing up, who are your mentors?
My parents were very great mentors for me because they guided me all the time. And of course, all the gurus with whom I worked. And then they were great performers in our times. Okay, today who you call legends were all great performers at that time. Say about 30, 40 years ago.
Right.
So there were the great artists who were on the stage. You would go and see them, and you would be so inspired by what they're doing. So as a child, I remember going and seeing Sitara Devi and Gopi Krishna, all these great Dr. Padma Subramaniam, all these great teachers.
Right.
So one would look at them and get so impressed, ki this is something that we wanted to understand more about. There was nothing called mentoring in that era, basically. But our parents guided us all the time. I mean, my mother told me, if you want to take up this subject, you must know everything about it. So then I remember my father had cancer, and we had by then shifted to Bangalore in the mid-70s. And this was in 1981. He was going to Bombay to the Tata Hospital for treatment. And my mother had gone with him. I was in Bangalore. So as young children, we always say, what are you going to bring for me? So I was very close to my father, and he, in fact, everybody said that I was his pet. But when he was leaving, I said, what are you going to bring for me? So my mother said, hello, we are going for treatment, So I said, well, but he always thinks of getting something for me. So my father, while leaving to the railway station, asked the taxi guy to stop at Fort in Bombay, where all the bookshops were. And he went into Strand Book House and he bought for me a book called Nataraja. It's a huge book, this size, and very thick, and published by National Museum in Delhi and by Shivarama Murthy, a very great scholar. And the book had like everything about Nataraja. You want about dance, you must know that. So that is the book that he bought, and I've written it in my diary in the book on the first page that it was on the 12th of August 1981. My father died on 23rd October 1981. So few months before he passed away, he goes for treatment and he brings this big fat book on Nataraja and gets it to me and says, Usha, you want to be in this field? You better read this. That was the mentor.
Ma'am, you've also been the director of JNCC in Moscow and worked there. How is that state like? And because that's a different setting altogether, culturally it's so different. So how did you manage to amplify the Indian culture and the classical arts there in Moscow? Tell us a little bit about that.
And one part of my life till I would say the 2000s was in trying to promote art and culture in India. Okay. Apart from which I was also doing corporate work. But after 2006, I began a new phase in my life where I started promoting young artists. And at that point in time, in 2015, I applied for a post in Delhi and I moved to Delhi. And I just started understanding how the system works. Now what is the process? And my second job which I got from the government was to go to Russia. Promoting art and culture in India is one thing. Understanding everything is one thing, because here we are dealing with a cross-section of people who know our languages, who have at least heard the sound of our language, if not more than that. Suppose I'm in Dehradun and I'm going to do some Tamil song, but they know that ye Madrasi hai, kuch to hai, this is from Tamil Nadu. That rings a bell for them. But you're going to a foreign country where they don't know any Indian language except Hindi and English. That's it. So they know that we have many languages, but they don't know the tonality of it. They don't understand anything. It doesn't ring a bell for them.
Right.
And then to bring out over there our very deep culture, and which is very traditional, very, heritage in that sense, to a completely foreign audience. And luckily for me, I was sent to Moscow, which as a country, Russia, highly appreciative of our country. Also,
were you excited when this opportunity came?
Oh my God, I'm excited. Of course I was. Any tenure to go abroad and work for the government itself, because I'm not an IAS officer, or I have not done my services, or I didn't do UPSC, that I was in the system.
Sure.
I was from outside the system. And then to get an opportunity to come into the system and try to look at it from their perspective and to do something. So that eventually ends up saying that you're working for the country. You know, you're working for this country, you're representing this country in a foreign country. And there you have, there whatever I had learned about art and culture in India, I could use that to, you know, to educate and to inform the entire crowd over there that this is what we are, this is what our culture is.
Right.
Because they are already friendly with us and they love this country. And it's not as though I was the first one to go. Our cultural center, by the time I went, was already 30 years old.
Right.
There have been Russian young dancers who have visited India, lived in India, learnt Bharatanatyam, Kathak, Manipuri, Odissi, Chow, Mohiniyattam. There are girls who have learnt all these forms, and they have come to India, lived here on scholarships and learnt and won. So they are aware of it. But it is about the fact that you have got this opportunity to go there and, you know, speak more about what is going on because arts have never stagnated, you know. It's not like it was a pond and it has remained a pond. Art is like a river and it's constantly flowing. So there are changes as per the times. People have, you know, relooked and revisited and reinvented art and culture in different ways. So everything is moving. And as it moves, today to get an opportunity to present what it is as it is today was a very big thing for me. And I'm grateful for being selected and be sent there. They just love us. So, and they appreciate it because they appreciate their own art also.
Right.
They love their forms, they love their music, they love their Tchaikovsky and their, you know, Bolshoi theatre and everything. They love all these things. So they also respect our art and culture because it is really traditional.
But did they have any misconceptions about the Indian form of dance or anything like that?
No, they have seen everything. Okay, so there is a group of people who loves traditional classical. There is a group of audience you will get if you do folk. There is a group of audience that you will get for Bollywood. There is a group of audience that you will get if you're doing Raj Kapoor.
Right.
Like, for example, Raj Kapoor and Mithun Chakravarti are like gods in Russia. So this film which released way back, Disco Dance.
Disco dancer, Mithun Chakravarti.
Yeah, so there was this song in that,
Jimmy Jimmy.
Jimmy Jimmy, which is a super hit in Russia.
Right.
And even today. So I was a young girl at that time. So the women who are of my age now, they would have seen that and heard that song way back. Even today, the moment you play that song, they'll go crazy. And I've seen women feel shy while listening to that song. They love Raj Kapoor. They just adore. We did a Raj Kapoor retrospective film and film festival along with live programs and all. I can't tell you the kind of audiences we get. Houses are full all the time. They're busy taking videos. They love it, you know, and they think that our Bollywood is very respectable. They love our country. And even today, the young girls, and they have fantastic flexible bodies. So for them to do any dance, it's not difficult. We had tons of Russian groups who do Bollywood. Okay. And in fact, we used to have some Bollywood classes in our center also, but that is separate from culture, classical.
Right.
So if you look at their children and the girls who dance, they are immaculate on stage, you know. आप कोई भी movement आप उनको दिखाइए, वो उसको वैसे का वैसे ही करके दिखाएंगे. So this beautiful program we did from black and white to color. So we started with all the old songs of Hindi cinema, and so the costumes also were black and white at that time. And then as we moved towards Sangam and the newer films that happened, then we changed the costumes to color. And then the last pieces which we did were Karan Johar's films, which we took some songs at it. I mean, that whole film extravaganza that we did, you know, they loved it. They love it.
Right.
So everything about India has got a space in that country.
When you were teaching and coaching the people there and spreading our culture there, what was that one moment that you thought was, wow, I think I'm really making an impact?
So before I left The Minister for External Affairs was Mrs. Sushma Swaraj. And we all got opportunity to meet her before we left, and she had hosted a lovely lunch for us, and she was talking to each one of us separately. It was amazing that there was a meeting and there were 35 people there. She knew each person by the name, and we were meeting her for the first time. So the moment we would say our name, and she would say, "अच्छा, तो आप मॉस्को जा रही हैं," and then she knew everything about you. So she would say, आपका जो डांस और म्यूजिक का है ना बैकग्राउंड, वो आपको वहाँ पे बहुत लोग बहुत अप्रिशिएट करेंगे. There was another friend of mine who was going to I think Maldives or Mauritius she was going to, and she says, आपका जो इस्लामिक स्टडी आपने किया है ना, आपको वो वहाँ पे बहुत काम आएगा. She knew each one, what was their background, what they had done, why they were going to that country, which country they were going, everything she knew.
Very well researched.
Very well. She knew each one by the name clearly. And then after the thing was over, and then she was, we were having lunch and all that, and then she just casually spoke to each one of us. She said to me, "Usha ji, आप वहाँ students गिनने नहीं जा रही हैं. So don't be worried about class में 50 लोग आए या 30 लोग आए. That's not what you're supposed to do. मैं चाहती हूँ कि आप 5 ऐसी चीजें करें जो पहली बार हो रहे हैं रशिया में. आप ये लिख लीजिए और 5 ऐसी चीजें करिए, और मैं चाहती हूँ कि आप कुछ नया करके आए वहां से." So a lot of things we did, like celebration of yoga as part of the city day celebrations. So like we have our Maharashtra Divas, or we had the day the cities are established, no? Like they have in Karnataka, they have the Rajotsava Day. Like this in Russia, in every city of theirs, when they celebrate their city, we added yoga as a part of their celebration, which was a big thing. Right. Then we did yoga in almost every part of Russia. Okay, right up to the south, Vladivostok, we arranged yoga camps everywhere. We took art and culture, Kathak, music, everything we took across everywhere. We got Hindi to be taught in the universities over there, which was like a first timer thing. Then we got in the Tchaikovsky Conservatory, we started tabla class. So it was like really some of the first time things that happened. And I remember our ambassador also thanked me, and while thanking me when I was leaving, he said that there are many things that you have done. For the first time, we had done these. So I said, "Ma'am had asked me to do at least 5 good things for the first step, and I think I have done what she had asked." So he said, "You have done more than 10, he said, So I really felt very satisfied. That was the moment for me, that when she said, "Aap को कुछ नया करके आना है वहां पे," that was the moment. And then when I returned, for them to say that yes, you delivered what you had said you would do, and that was the like a wow moment for me, that chalo, we had whatever we went there to do, we achieved something, a part of what we wanted to do. Maybe we could have done much more. I had 3 years only. In that I tried my best, but there's always scope for improvement. I believe in that. So I know I could have done more things, but with whatever I could, with my own abilities and the support system, because we have a huge support system. Government support is not ordinary. It's not like my single person going and doing something and coming. I couldn't have done it. You think I could have got permissions to do yoga in front of the Kremlin on the main road without the embassy's permission, embassy contacting them, getting permission. So whole system works behind you to deliver that one thing, But the fact that you have that support system and the fact that you can realize the dream that you want, that is a very big opportunity.
You have Kathak, you have Odissi in India, and like various dance forms. What is that one thread that binds them?
So we have mainly 7 classical forms and 1 or 2 now joining the race together with these. See, Indian arts per se, whether it is dance or music, the one thing that really stands out compared to the world music and the world, how it looks at and what music and dance they have, is spirituality. It is about spirituality. For us, every bhajan, every kriti, every composition is about A, some god or the other. B, how do we attain moksha? Even you listen to Kabir, he writes about how we remove the Maili Chadar. If you listen to that piece of his composition, you see how he talks about removing all the ugliness from our body. How do we remove all the ugliness from us? And how do we emerge pure? Because when we really go to the Lord, we have to be in that purest form. How can I relieve myself from all these irregularities that I have, whether anger or jealousy or all these qualities? So every composer in this country and every choreographer in this country in the past has looked at art as a deliverance towards the higher consciousness. So if you want to elevate yourself, it's very easy. I mean, आप 2 मिनट के लिए भजन सुनिए आंख बंद करके, immediately when you open your eyes, you have a different feeling. Every art form in India is meditative. Even a painter, even a sculptor, everything is meditative. Because when you focus on that and you're trying to create something, actually the creative process is meditative and spiritual. What do you need if you want to be spiritual or you want to, as they say, attain moksha? What is moksha? Deliverance from this human body to transcend and to go to higher consciousness. Now, if you want to do that, what is meditation? Focusing on something, sitting down, closing your eyes, the entire process that you see. What pushes you and takes you higher and higher in spirituality? If you look at that and you make a process, just write it down, and then you write the process of a kumhar when he is making a beautiful pot. The process is the same. Because it's just that he is working exactly how you're working towards higher consciousness. He's trying to create that here. So every artistic process is about, is meditative, has got all these ingredients of being highly spiritual. You're watching a dance program. The dancer becomes the dance. And when he or she becomes the dance, then there is no difference between X who's dancing there or the character that they're showing you. So you are almost watching Rama. You're almost thinking that this is how Rama might have walked, and this is how he gave up his palace. This is how he went away with his wife to the forest. It is so real for you that you are completely engrossed in that creative process. And that when that tear falls from your eyes when he's leaving his father, that is the spiritual connect.
Right.
When the artist has connected you with that story. So this is our content. And this is the content that delivers you in any way, So one thing that ties our entire artistic field is that the creative process is the route for you towards higher consciousness. And I don't think there's any better explanation than that.
The classical art form, the various dances and all that, there's a kind of a narrative, as a pattern, a storytelling pattern. So what do you think is that storytelling pattern? Is it when it comes on stage, it becomes very organic, or do you have to make an extra effort to show that this is the story through my art? This is the story. So is there an organic correction to that?
If it is dance, there is a physical form. If it is music, there is a technical either voice or instrument or whatever. So there is a form of music, like you have a Hindustani music, you have Carnatic music, you have Bharatnatyam, you have Kathak. These are all different forms. There are formats that each one has prepared. जैसे आपने ये फॉर्मेट इंटरव्यू का बनाया कि आप पॉडकास्ट करें. दिस इज योर फॉर्मेट. ओके, व्हाट इज द फॉर्म? फॉर्म इज इंटरव्यू. Okay, now in that format, each one will develop their format from the basics that are available, what you have learned. जैसे माइक तो रखना ही पड़ेगा, बैठना ही पड़ेगा, क्वेश्चन पूछने ही पड़ेंगे, ये सब चीजें हैं. अब उसमें आप अपना कैसे डालोगे, उसके अंदर
कंट्रीब्यूट कैसे कराना है.
तो एक आर्टिस्ट एक फॉर्म सीखता है, एक फॉर्मेट सीख लेता है, फिर उसमें अगर कोई कॉम्पोजिशन है, समझो गणेश जी के बारे में है। कुछ लोग गणेश जी का फिजिकल डिस्क्रिप्शन दिखा देंगे, कुछ लोग कोई कहानी बता देंगे, कुछ लोग बता देंगे शिव जी कैसे हंस रहे हैं गणेश को देख के, कुछ लोग वो माउस और गणेश जी का रिलेशनशिप बताएंगे, कुछ लोग बताएंगे गणेश जी बहुत लड्डू खाते हैं। सो ईच वन सेलेक्ट समथिंग टू कम्युनिकेट टू देम। वंस यू हैव डिसाइडेड व्हाट योर कंटेंट इज एंड हाउ यू आर कम्युनिकेटिंग, there is a lot of time that in the beginning of your life, when you write, like for example, you are in college, you finish your school, in school you write answers, paragraphs, okay? Then you come to college, you're writing sheets and pages of that. And then after a point when you come to PhD, your thought process is different. You know, you are communicating differently by then. So same thing in art also. You'll start off by the basics, you'll learn something, you'll go to a format. But by the time you come to a performance level, you have the ability to communicate in a superior way. And then your inner self will tell you. So organically, when you use the word organically, it is more spiritually. Because for us, it is suddenly the soul will change your whole look from a person X. Okay, say I'll just take a name. Suppose it is, Radha. Radha is the name of the girl who is a performer. Okay, so we are saying, I'm going for Radha's program today. Acha, how does she dance? Oh, very good. Then they go there. But the girl Radha is going to depict Sita there on the stage. She's doing story of Sita. Suddenly, initially you're thinking, Radha, she's very good and she's trained very well. And you're watching. And as the story of Sita is coming out, suddenly you start thinking, "I poor Sita, you see how Shama struggles, you see how Sita, did she walk like this?" Suddenly you're thinking that is Sita. That is that organic shift from doing something that you thought of doing and you learned, but you have moved it to a level where you have become that.
Correct.
That is that spiritual connection. And that, growing within that format that you have suddenly developed some thought process and it is coming to you naturally because you are immersed in it. There you are not you. The dancer, many times you see on the stage, even singers, they can just make you cry. I know when Parveen Sultana sings Bhavani Dayani, everybody cries. And they are like this, when she's singing, they just don't know how to react. They just feel like a Durga is sitting there. Devi is sitting there. These moments. And I always say this line that what is moksha for a performer? Or for an artist for that matter, or for a painter, anybody, or any artist. What is moksha? Moksha is why, a general expression would be that I want to leave this world and I want to get moksha.
Or to transit to a higher.
Which means I have to finish this.
Yes.
There's a closure here and I'm moving away. That's what it means.
Right.
But for an artist, why will the artist want to leave everything and go away there? They are here right now. They have a duty to perform. They are a performer. They have to deliver.
The dharma.
Their dharma and their karma, what they are supposed to do. Their vritti God has given them. So, to deliver that, at that point when they are able to transcend you as an audience member to a different space, that is moksha. They themselves don't know that they are Ragha or Satya or Suresh or anybody. They think they are that and they are experiencing that and they have sent that vibration to you and you are thinking they are Sita. That whole process that is happening and you feel almost like enveloped in a cocoon and when they finish it, you are so stunned that you are sitting and it takes you a few seconds to come out of that, then you start clapping. That silence and that what they did to you in that period, that is moksha. That's when you experience that higher consciousness and they took you to that. They must have experienced. Without them experiencing, you can't get it.
मैं ये जानना चाहता हूँ जो आजकल की जो नई जनरेशन है उनके मन में कोई क्या मिसकंसेप्शन है अबाउट इंडियन क्लासिकल म्यूजिक? आर दे ड्रॉन टू इट और दे हैव अ रिजर्व्ड और एन आके mind about it कि नहीं, this is not for me. Do you think newer generation have certain misconceptions about Indian classical dance forms, or they're just being very, very ignorant?
I think we have to revisit and recreate and reinvent ourselves in generally in life also. Okay. I can't wear the sari the way my grandmother was wearing. She was wearing 9 yards. I can't wear 9 yards. So I made it 6 yards. So as the generations move, times are changing. We are trying to hold on to our tradition, but modernize it to an extent that we don't leave that tradition, but at the same time, we are going with the times.
Right.
Similarly for arts.
Yes.
Okay. Why newer generations feel that, okay, it's a very slow thing and अभी ये आलाप शुरू करेगा, यार कौन सुनेगा ये गाना, या ये क्या है, कितने सारे हाथ कर रहे हैं, क्या, what does it mean? ये सब चीजें हैं. What is very easily communicable to a human being who has no initiation at all? Why people love Bollywood so much is because it is just so free. It is just so simple, and it just touches you, and it is for the mass. It's for anybody and everybody. Okay. You can be a small shop owner, or you can be some multimillionaire. You will still think that Prabhudeva dances well.
Right.
Okay, so that is a communicative level of that. And certain mediums are made for a certain audience. So cinema per se was for the larger audience. And classical arts, because they are technical and because they are very in-depth and they're so connected with spirituality, etc., with all these things, suddenly there were only people who were initiated in it. So why do they always say that Raja Maharaja to क्लासिकल आर्ट्स के बड़े पेट्रन्स थे? तो क्या राजा महाराजा कुछ अलग तरीके से सोचे थे? नहीं, they also were like everybody else, but they were initiated. So those who are not initiated may not appreciate it. So they would always say, in one of the companies that I worked in the past, ITC, so when we would promote a particular brand, so the tagline for that was, which we promoted classical arts, was for the gracious people. Okay. So which means that it is only those people who are initiated into art and culture, who have a understanding. Now, gracious does not mean financially gracious. Okay. Gracious means aesthetically, knowledge-wise, understanding of philosophy, those kind of things, subjects. Okay. So normally they'll say, no, South Indians are very cultured. Okay. Or they'll say Bengalis are very cultured. Because there are certain communities which have developed that grace.
There is a stereotype, some kind of a stereotype.
So that is the general understanding. But amongst the youth, I must say that, see, if we are going to give it to them in the way that it was 50 years ago, it may not interest even me. Even I have moved with the times. So naturally, they have moved beyond me in the times. So it is important that we package and revisit and give to them the content that they would like to associate or understand. If we have to teach a youngster classical dance, they would be interested in learning. Okay. But whether we expect them to take an in-depth understanding of it and, really immerse themselves in it, some may not. But how do we attract them? Why did Lux soap is very old? Right. It started when Nargis was there. So Nargis was the model for it. Then came the next generation, Nutan, etc., etc. Then after that came Hema Malini, Rekha, etc.
Then Madhuri.
Then
Sridevi.
Exactly. And then today you have Alia Bhatt. So I am saying, if today's generation has to think that old Lux is such an old boring soap, then they would never be able to sell today also. But they have constantly revisited, reinvented not only their packaging, their added benefits. Today's generation क्या पसंद करेगा, क्या वो लक्स का ही एक liquid form पसंद करेगा. They worked at it. So similarly, everything has worked. Our clothing has worked. Our way of living has worked. The houses we build today are different from those days. So even arts have followed the same pattern. We have worked. So today, if I am able to attract young dancers, which I have in the past 17, 18 years, my work with young dancers has been very successful because I said the next generation, we must develop and we must teach them. This is not formal school education that हर माँ अपने बच्चे को स्कूल में भेजेगी ही भेजेगी. ऐसा नहीं है. कुछ कुछ बच्चे सीखते हैं. जो सीख रहे हैं उनको हम कैसे प्रमोट करें और उनको हम कैसे आगे लेके जाएं ताकि वो सोचे कि नहीं यार ये फील्ड इतना भी खराब नहीं है. You know? So for that I started my work in 2008. Up to now I've been only doing young dancers. And that has really paid off very well. Right. So today I have a huge following of young dancers who think that so my programs are different. I look at thematic programs. I conceptualize for them. I give them the opportunity to work themselves also. So it's not as though मैं ही सब सिखाती हूँ. मैं कुछ नहीं सिखाती. मैं सिर्फ उनको इतना ही बताती हूँ कि ये सब्जेक्ट है, ये कंटेंट आना चाहिए. आप इसको इस तरीके से देख के शुरू करिए काम. So they start working and then I just make sure that they are not slipping off the road. I keep pushing them back on the road so that they go in the path correctly. And they do everything themselves. Almost 90% of the work is their hard work. And then when they perform and everybody says, wow, it's so great, and they're all clapping, that time I make sure to announce that the choreography of each of these pieces was done by them only. That's when everybody takes one intake of their breath by saying, why? Because you must know that they have done it.
Right.
And that is so important for motivation and development of, of the arts. So we are trying to teach them. We are keeping the heritage and the traditional part on either side of the lines of the road. And we are making them go in that road. But we've given them sufficient space to maneuver and to go and reach where they want.
Is the onus now on the younger generation to take the classical art forms further, spread it, and I tweak it a little bit that is more palatable to the larger audience?
Younger generation is taking an interest. They are learning. They are performing. They are doing their bit. Okay. I don't know whether we need to tweak it because some of it you can't touch. You want to learn English, you have to do ABCD and you have to do the basic grammar. Well, usko aap grammar ko haath nahi laga sakte. But at the same time, I think the style of writing has changed. We no longer write in Shakespeare style, right? Today our English is changed. The way we write English is changed. There are various styles of writing English today. There's a lot of spaces that you can occupy. All don't have to become great performers. Some can become great teachers. And today I know of hundreds of students who are very good teachers. What I would think that the youngster today should do is remain true to what it is.
Ma'am, you've worked with the UNESCO as well. And can you share us a few things that really touched your heart and were actually meaningful when you were working with with UNESCO?
So the first tenure that I got from Government of India was with UNESCO related projects. So they had created a section which was for intangible cultural heritage. So they made a body for that and I was the member secretary for it. So primarily the job was to do the nominations for UNESCO nominations, which will give us the recognition. And we'd already done in the past some, and I had to continue that work in a more organized body. Earlier it was done by, some institution of the Ministry of Culture. They would keep shifting it here and there, and it did have its own setup. So they decided to make a setup for that, and they appointed me, and I had a couple of assistants and all that, and we would do that work. So the first project which when I joined was there's a Creative City Network in UNESCO's nominations. So we nominated Varanasi as a creative city of music. So there are various creative cities, and then music was also one. So we nominated Varanasi, and it got nominated. So that was like a big thing for us because Varanasi was important. Yes, it was Prime Minister's constituency, and it had a lot of, and then more than that, I think politically, whatever it may have been, it was more important because of the history and the mythology of Varanasi, of Kashi, the Shankaracharya's visit, the music that emerged from there, the Samaveda, and music from Samaveda till music becoming a lifestyle in Banaras. So even the Panwala sings, right? Right. The famous song, Ke Pan Banaras Va. So looking at Banaras as a creative city of music, which included the Thumris, the great, Thumri singers there, the manner in which the Raja Naresh would, promote art and culture, the beautiful occasions that they created for music, like the Gulab Badi. It is very interesting event. So the Gulab Badi is a event where they would do it at a particular time of the year, I think after Holi or something, where everybody, all the males would wear pink color safa and all the women would wear pink clothes, and there would be specific chaitis and compositions sung during that period on that day, and then everything, all the food and everything would have gulab flavor. There would be pink and gulab decoration, flower decoration everywhere, and even the thandai that they would give there would have rose essence in it. So this whole thing of badi basically means house, now, or a venue. So Gulab Badi was a place where they would celebrate rose and that whole beautiful fragrance and that ambience of it just after Holi, when the summer is going to come in, and this is the time when you want this coolness of that of the rose flavor. So like all these things, the beautiful events that they had, where all they allowed music to happen, the boatman, the weaver, the rickshaw puller, the panwala, everybody had music in their lives, and it is a city of music, creative music. It didn't have certain guidelines or anything like that. So from Drupad, and it's so interesting that a South Indian composer in the 17th century traveled up to, because going to Kashi was like moksha for everybody. Right. So he travels to Kashi and he learns Drupad music, and then he sees the Ganga Aarti, and when he comes back to Tanjavur, he sees the Kaveri river and he feels like it is the Ganga of the south, and there he wants that Aarti be done just like they did it in Kashi, and he composes music based on water element of the 5 elements, which is in a Hindustani raga. So this entire beauty of India, which is so beautifully, intertwined with each other, and these nominations were big for our country. So yoga as a nomination, and then after that Kumbh Mela. I think Kumbh Mela was the one which really made me feel like अभी आगे हम लोग मैं कोई काम नहीं करूं तो भी मुझे कोई शिकवा नहीं होगा या गिला नहीं होगा. Did you get an opportunity to go for the? Yeah, I have been to Kumbh Mela before. Okay. Yeah, before the nominations, I had visited in the mast. But when I worked on the nomination, the entire gamut of it, right from the black and white footage from information department to Doordarshan, to editing a 9-minute film, to creating that, using the right words. What is the purpose of Kumbh Mela? Kumbh Mela, I mean, as many people think that it is Shahi Snan and going there and everybody having a bath. Yeah, that is a part of it. But Kumbh Mela primarily was, apart from the mythology of the, the Amrit falling here and etc. Leave that mythology part aside. It is a place where all the great minds, thinkers, saints, sages, philosophers all got together and discussed and revisited the doctrines of philosophy and spirituality. When did they decide that अभी औरतें भी वेद पाठ सीख सकती हैं? या when did they decide कि ये अखाड़ा अलग से भी हो सकता है, औरतों के लिए अखाड़ा बन सकता है? या when did they decide that transgender can also get an opportunity to be a part of their own akhada? So all these new things that have these discussions, this is the doctrine of our country, and this philosophy, spirituality, discussion, because there was never anything in our country without discussion and debate.
Right.
Samvad is something that we always had. And it is only through this that our country moved forward and that we came out with new thoughts and new processes and all these things. So Kumbh Mela is a venue for that. And you must have seen on TV in the recent past how all the great minds and thinkers and saints and, they all come together, they discuss and they talk, and from there emerges the churning of thought, and then from there emerges the Amrit. So that was the purpose of the Kumbh Mela, and to be able to distill the normally thought viewpoints and to bring it to this and to create it as a unique element which can go to UNESCO and let the world say that, for example, this is the only event in the world where
you're talking about.
Yeah. Unginat, or for example, numerous, hundreds, thousands, lakhs of people come. Okay? They assemble in a peaceful flame and discuss all these doctrines without any invitation. Which event in the world has happened without invitation? Nobody calls anybody. On that day, you'll see everybody's there. They come by themselves. They undergo so much of hardships. They walk for days. They stay anywhere for days. They eat what is they get there. That whole fervor with which they come there for this thing is unparalleled. It's not available anywhere in the world. And this is a peaceful congregation of humans where people come to discuss all these important philosophical and spiritual doctrines without an invitation. This was the tagline for Kumbh Mela. And I think when it got nominated and the PM announced it, it was such a joy for everybody.
Are there anything that you would want to alter or change in the way certain things are taught in the Indian classical art form?
See, the training process itself is in our Indian culture and India, our training methodologies are very scientific.
Right.
And there's not much that you need to do to change it. But except for the fact that today we don't have the time that we would have earlier. So earlier in Guru Shishya Parampara, they'd stay in Guru's house and there was Gurukul Vas and all that. Now to wo sab badal gaya hai.
Right.
But within that format, today also we are following in art and culture, we are following same methodology, So Guru is Guru. You have to touch Guru's feet or you have to do namaskar that you have to do. We have not come to the modern way like in school we go and sit there and say good morning teacher. We are not come there yet. We still follow our traditional methodology, in teaching. So there is not much that one needs to do in terms of that because it's highly scientific. It has been divided very well, how the steps are taught, then from there to P. Exactly like you learn ABCD, then you learn sentences, then you learn. So everything is perfect. I don't think there's much that we need to do. But every every teacher takes up the teaching profession, must remember and follow the important qualities of a good teacher.
What advice would you give the young dancers and the young cultural entrepreneurs when it comes to promoting and safeguarding the Indian classical arts? What advice would you give them?
I think we are still in the state where we are trying to understand. So today we have mediums which are not traditional mediums. So when TV came, then now Instagram and Facebook and all these things, social media. So we are still, in the exploratory stage. We are figuring it out. कि क्या कितना how much is good and how much is not good. कभी कभार बच्चे 10-20 पोस्ट डाल देते हैं. It doesn't work. So हर सिस्टम को डेवलप होने में थोड़ा वक्त तो लगता है. They are all new mediums. So we are still trying to figure out कि कितना करना चाहिए, कितना नहीं करना चाहिए, कितना exposure अच्छा है, what is good, what is not good, So I think it will take some time, but I think what is interesting to see is how quickly they have adapted themselves to the new formats. Like YouTube था ही नहीं. पहले दूरदर्शन में इंटरव्यूज होते थे. फिर बाद में आजकल तो podcasts and interviews have become so prevalent everywhere. So YouTube has become a great platform. We have figured it out very quickly. We have explored, they've understood, and we are adapting. So youngsters should just understand one thing, that in art and culture, it's not like you have to post 200 times. You must know how much to do it, and you have to prepare an optimal plan for yourself.
Quality over quantity.
And also to suit yourself. अगर मैं ऐसे हूँ तो मुझे क्या साड़ी ही अच्छा लगेगा या मुझे जीन्स ही अच्छा लगेगा, वो मैं सोचूंगी ना मेरे अपने आप को देख के. जैसे कपड़े पहनते हैं या जो भी हम करते हैं वो हम अपने आप को देख के हम जो हमको सूट होता है वही करते हैं. Same way the artist has to say, this is my program and how I want to promote it, and I will do it to suit me. This, once they start thinking in this manner, automatically you will have a variety of different people doing it differently. Right now you're seeing the same thing go.
Where do you see the Indian classical dance? What's the future like in the next 20 years? Where do you see it going?
So from 3-hour shows, we have come now today to an hour and a half.
Okay.
So 50% कट कर दिया.
Right.
अब ये 1.5 hours भी हम लोग टाइटन कर रहे हैं. Sometimes I do program only 1 hour 15 minutes in which announcements सब छोड़ छाड़ के basic programs just about an hour, So we are tightening it. We are trying.
What's the reason behind that?
One reason is that people don't stay till the end of the program. So if I start at 6:30, 8:30 is when everybody wants to go. Because they have their own issues. There's traffic, there's vehicle, there's problems, there's bus नहीं मिलेगा या driver चले जाना चाहता है, तो ये सब चीजें होती हैं. तो ये सब मिला, and then some of the senior people who come want to have dinner early, they want to reach home early, and then distances, एक ऑडिटोरियम कहीं दूर है, वहां से घर पहुंचते पहुंचते आधा पौना घंटा लग जाएगा. All these problems put together, the closure of the program should not be more than 8:30.
Right.
So considering that, we are tightening our shows so that we start at 6 or 6:30 and end by 8:30. So everybody is happy to go home. They've enjoyed a good evening. They can go back home, rest, eat, and whatever, finish their day, Whereas if we make them stay till late, and then by the time they reach home, it's 10 o'clock, and then they have to, prepare for a little bit for dinner and then all that, then raat bahut late. And then sometimes weekend pe people don't mind. But weekdays pe bahut mushkil hai. Bahut mushkil. And that is why we have to tighten the performance. Because attention span kam ho gaya hai. एक आर्टिस्ट को 40 minutes से ज्यादा स्टेज पे कोई नहीं देख रहा.
The retention span has considerably gone down.
Yeah. So attention span more than retention. Retention तो घर जाके रहेगा दिमाग में, लेकिन वहाँ का जो attention span है वो fidgety हो जाने लगते हैं when they want to leave and or they start talking. If any time the program is slightly dipping in the in the program, immediately they'll start talking more. They will look here, there. So that means an artist has to catch your attention and keep it tight within her fist till the end of the program. That's a huge challenge for everybody, कि मैं 1 घंटा बोलूंगी और तुम बैठ के बिना आंख झपके सुनो. That's very tough for us, you know. अभी फिल्म्स भी शॉर्ट फिल्म्स हो गए हैं, एपिसोडिक हो गए हैं. क्यों? कोई पहले जैसा 3 घंटे का फिल्म तो देख नहीं रहा है. They want shorter films. 1-1.5 घंटे का फिल्म होना चाहिए, जाके घर आ गए. So everything is becoming that because of the speed of life and the amount of mind investments that we have. We have to look after children, we have to look after house, maids have to leave, drivers have to be there, food has to be, so many things are there. And then you have to go next day, you have to manage a full day again. So with all these things, एक इंसान को उतना ही समय मिल रहा है ये चीजों के लिए. तो I think we should respect that also.
If you could pass on one message to the global audience about the Indian classical dances, what is that one message to the global audience?
Bharat is a spiritual country. So if you love us, you love our spirituality. Understand our philosophy and experience it.
On that note, ma'am, it was a riveting conversation. I had a wonderful time having a conversation with you. Thank you so much for taking out time from your busy schedule and doing the podcast.
Thank you so much, Yash, for calling me. So, joy always to speak to young people and understand what's going on in their minds and be able to answer something. Because, yes, we come from a different era, but we're moving along with you. And so, it's a joy always to be amongst young.
Pleasure is all mine, ma'am.
And share the little thoughts and, ideas that one has. Platforms like these are very important. And we respect and regard such conversations.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, women. Thank you so much.